Welcome back to another episode of Modified Rides Podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Burrell. Today I have someone I've been friends with for a while. He's probably one of the top sheet metal fabricators around. He's actually done work for me. Today I have Eddie Gordy on. What's going on, Eddie?
What's up, man? How's it going, buddy?
Pretty good. I know we've played tag a little bit trying to get you on. You work one of those weird schedules, but you're also gone to car shows about 8 days a week for the most part. So
8.5 days, yeah.
it's hard to get you narrowed down because if you're not working third shift, you're literally on the road somewhere. This man travels to more car shows, I think, than anybody I know. What are you up to this year? About 30 already?
No, I think we're up to like 11.
And it's only into May?
Yeah, I think Bama will make it 11. Yeah.
Nice. Well, like I said, you're gone from shows, Thursday to Sunday, about 3-4 weekends a month. So if y'all don't know, Eddie has cookies and cream, the white Mazda. The jokes if you walk by, it's just a lowered Mazda on black wheels. No one's gonna know the difference. But he has more detail on this truck than most vehicles out there. We'll get into that. I kind of want to back up a little bit with Eddie. If you've been in the custom truck scene for any amount of time, you may have heard the name Eddie Gordy. He's been around, started, I guess, in the lowrider days. He's been around for how many years you been in this now? About 30?
31.
So you've dabbled.
I've actually been into it more than 31, but since I've got my license, 31, yeah.
Gotcha. So let's get back into that. Let's start at the beginning. We'll get back to the cookies and cream deal, which is your current endeavor.
Right.
What got you into custom vehicles? Was it parents? Was it kids at school? Like, how did you get into it?
Well, my dad he's always had like souped up hot rods before I was born. So I guess what triggered it is in kindergarten, I got my first snap together model car and put several of those together, and man, it just skyrocketed from there.
They wouldn't give you the glue together back in kindergarten?
Not in kindergarten, no. But I mean, I was real delicate with the decals. I mean, the whole nine. I mean, so I was already getting the attention to detail already. But yeah, man, through the years, people don't know this, but man, I actually showed model cars. I put model cars together. I was actually in a model car club when I was younger. Probably when I was 8 years old, I was already entering model car shows. Plus racing four-wheelers at the same time. I started racing four-wheelers at age of 8.
Oh, really? I didn't know it started that young.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but I'd go down as far as using 12 gauge, the copper off 12 gauge wire for radiator hose clamps, safety wire for brake lines on the models. It was
wow,
crazy. And I still got all the ones once I done it up till I was probably about 20, 22. Just dabbled in it a little bit, but I mean, I've got, 56 Ford sitting on a 300 ZX chassis, all independent suspension. I mean, I got full size Fords body drop that I done that back when I was 15, 16 years old before there was ever anything body drop.
So you've been dealing with the custom world since you could pretty much walk around without a diaper, I guess you'd say.
Pretty much. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and that, like I say, man, just doing that and the attention to detail that had to be that. I mean, I got all kinds of awards with model cars. And the older I got, it really just transpired to full-size vehicles.
I never knew that. I thought you'd started in the actual vehicle world.
No. And I've always been into art, drawing and designing even when I was a teenager. And that's just it's all collaborated together at one time to, I guess, make the explosion I have in my life.
Well, if you started with the models, you said you got into ATV racing.
Right.
Was it always ATV or was it dirt bikes first or?
No, it was all ATV. Then once I got a little older, when I was about 12 or 13, I was racing TT. I was racing motocross. Then my dad, we had like 7 4-wheelers. Had one for motocross, TT, flat track, and cross country.
Now, is that something you and your brother did that together, didn't you?
Yeah, not then. I raced up till I was 15, and I didn't get on another 4-wheeler again until I was 33.
Oh, wow.
And I come back when I was 33. My brother started racing, him and my dad about 2 years before me. I got back into it, and then in 2012, I got back into it 2010. In 2012, I won a AMA national championship.
Oh, so you were like racing. You weren't just like at the local track playing.
Oh, yeah, no, we run a local series, and then we run the AMA Extreme Dirt Track all over the United States.
So you've been traveling on weekends your whole life then, not just recent with car shows.
My whole life, and then I also got into powerlifting back in the early 2000s, and I've done that for 15 years. I finally retired in 2015 from powerlifting competitions, and I travel for that too.
Oh, see, I didn't realize that. I mean, he was always just a tad bigger than me.
Yeah,
but
just that much.
I didn't realize that you did that. I guess pro level like that.
Yeah, well, and I competed in AMA, and then or not AMA, AAU, and then a couple push pull type deals. I held the state record in bench press, and state record in bench press and deadlift in my weight class.
And what was for the guys that actually go to the gym? Of course, I don't. But what was your record?
So in 2006, it was in a single ply shirt. It was 555.
I don't think I could want to move that with a vehicle, much less my body.
In 2015, one of my buddies that's the last one I done. It was like an exhibition deal that we done, and we trained for it at his place, and I ended up doing 550 raw. So
that's a little too much for me. so during the powerlifting, the racing, and all that, you started building actual vehicles, I guess, after the model car stuff. What was your first vehicle you started playing with? There was actually a vehicle, not a model.
So 1991, my dad's buddy's wife, she worked for a telecommunications company. And they were selling one of their Mazda pickups, which had toolboxes on each side of the bed, the long toolboxes. Once they got 100,000 miles, they sold them. Well, he got one for $1,500, and it was light beige. Well, he gave it to me early. He pulled a mowing trailer with it for about a year, and then gave it to me about mid of '92. I lowered it, put wheels on it, painted Looney Tune characters on the tailgate. And '93, I got my license April of '93, and 1 week later, I done my first show at Farmington Dragway at the Bug Bash.
Oh wow! So you were modifying it before you ever got your license in?
It was already done before I got my license. Why not done?
You got your license at 16?
Yeah. So, and that truck is the truck that became scandalous.
So let's get into that. So you showed, I guess you said you went to that show the first week after you got your license. Mm-hmm. Is that what really got you hooked on going to shows to make you want to tear it apart?
Well, it really didn't get tore apart till later. So my uncle, he had a '91 Ford Escort GT, and he would go to little shows like around Tanglewood, couple of deals like that. And they were big into stereo. Well, before I started really doing stuff for other people, I really got into audio. So I was building speaker boxes, putting in radios and stuff like that at the age of 15. So when I got my license and done that first show, I think that's really where, like I say, I really got bit by the bug. Well, then, back in those days, Low Life Minis put on one of the biggest shows in North Wilkesboro. That was the biggest show around. Well, and I went to the first show, and I take that back. I did go to the first show in 1994, but before that, Tad worked for a little stereo shop over off Stratford Road. Well, Shannon Bullis decided that he was going to have him not just a North Wilkesboro chapter, but a Winston-Salem chapter. So we got hooked up with some buddies of mine, and we all became in the Winston-Salem chapter of Low Life Minis. So, so then when we went to the show in '94, I actually was already in Low Life Minis.
I didn't realize you was ever in Low Life.
Yeah, I was in Low Life Minis for about a year, and then when I got put hydraulics on the truck, and that was mini truck style. Then I got hooked on the wire wheels and hydros. Clarence Walker put hydros on the truck April of '95. I already had McLean wire wheels, all that stuff. I already had a camper top on it. And I already had that on before hydros. Had chrome Toyota front bumper. I mean, it was 4 hydros. It was, the truck was pretty much, the axle was on top of the frame in the rear, and all the bump stops out, and I was just picking off reflectors going down the road. So he put that in '95. So we went back to Low Life Mini show, and I think they had it, I think it was November, because I remember everybody had like a Christmas theme, and I actually entered it in the hydraulic competition.
I think that was the year I went. I mean, a couple of guys from Asheville had went over there.
Yeah, it was actually in the hydraulic competition, so it's pretty cool. Good little adventure.
When did you tear it apart to make it the competer that it was?
So I took it off of the road in September of 1996. So September 1996.
Barely out of high school at that point.
Yeah. So September 1996, I was held back a year, so I was always a year older than everybody. But yeah, tore down September 1996 in my dad's garage. Started tearing all the suspension out. Started chroming everything. Put 520s on the wire wheels. Done all the interior was already done. So the outside was the light beige, and the inside was actually diamond stitched mauve interior with coffin pleat. I had Mazda MX-3 front seats, a walkthrough with Mazda MX-3 rear seats and the rear surrounds. So if you look at it, it looked like the whole back of the car just went around.
Oh, wow. I never knew that.
Wall with a 15 in it, and all the hydros was in the back under plexiglass. So done all that. I showed it a few times. The biggest show was Nopi in 1997. When they had it at the
amphitheater.
Theater, yep.
Yeah, Lakewood. I think that show was better than it was when it was at the racetrack.
Right. I actually put it on jack stands there on black indoor-outdoor carpet and some stanchions around it. I actually took the hood off and laid beside it because I already had the Smile Now, Cry Later with the Scandalous on the hood already airbrushed on there.
And it was still tan back then?
It was still like
whatever.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, so, I remember that show because like Lowrider would bring out Disco Bit. They had like Disco Biscuit was there. That was always one of my favorite. What is a little Ford Fiesta or Festiva, whatever it was. It would hop like crazy. Wasn't nothing but pumps and batteries inside of it.
Right.
The Joker come out like that. That was when that era was big, I feel.
Oh, it was huge. It was huge. Yeah. So I think after that show, I think we done a few local shows, and then March of, let's see, no, I take that back. November, December of '97, I took it in for paint. So I disassembled everything. That's where it went in for House of Color Candy Violet over bronze with patterns. It went in November, December '97. They got done with it, shaved everything, come out with it. Got done with it in March of '98. Brought it home, done all the brand new interior there at my mom and dad's house. Had over 500 mirrors in the interior, all of them an inch wide. I done all the interior, all the button tuck, the coffin pleat, all of that. And
Did you do it all, or did you have someone do it for you?
Done every bit of it.
Oh,
So we
wow.
there was a place in Asheboro about 45 minutes from me. That's all they done. Everybody got them do it. I watched them do it a few times. I was like, well, you know what? I can do this. So, I mean, all my seats were handmade. Everything looked like a roller coaster. But then I got done with it late June of '98. Took it to Mini Truck Nationals in July when they separated, or the second year that they had separated, and actually got best of show. I actually took it off, took all the wheels off, and was just sitting out there on the concrete on jack stands.
That was the show where I met Courtney, where said he wanted to shoot my CRX, and I don't even remember your truck being there. I guess that show was huge back then. You just everything blurred together.
Right. Yeah, because when you pulled in the second entrance, and you hang a right, and there's a big grass field up there where everybody was parking. And I told myself, well, I can't park on the grass. I'm putting mine on jack stands. So right there, as you pull in, I was to the left, taking up 3 parking places.
Oh, right there by the front of the hotel? Because
Yep.
it was at the hotel then, wasn't it?
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
Right down at the Gatlinburg end.
That was the year someone jumped in the pool during awards, I think.
It probably is.
Pissed Charlie off. You cannonball right in the middle of it. He's like, that's it. We're not going to do this show if y'all can't respect these awards. And, yeah, everybody's a bunch of dumb kids back then. So
with that truck, I ended up doing a lot more to it. It's kind of like what I'm doing now.
Oh, you mean the Daily Driver that we're going to get to in a little bit?
Yeah, that one. Yeah. And so I ended up doing my first lowrider show in Macon, Georgia, September of '98. So it was actually that same year. We won our class, won best truck, best radical truck, several specialty awards, and I really got bit by the lowrider bug then.
Now, had you been around any of the lowrider stuff, or is it just stuff that you had seen in magazines and knew you liked it? Because I don't remember there being a lot of lowrider stuff in North Carolina back then.
See, I was friends with Wayne Costa, Kent, all those guys. Well, see, all those, Kent had his Mazda that was always a, like green and yellow primer, always a different color primer. Those guys were hard hitters, and then Wayne started at A to Z hydraulics, and so I just fell in love with that side of it, going from a mini trucker to lowrider.
But they were just hoppers, though. They weren't really show vehicles, though, were they?
No, And so I had started my own club after Low Life Minis, and then a bunch of buddies from high school, they would have wire wheels, and then some of them got hydraulics, and we'd always go uptown and cruise, and everybody would meet different people, and it's just like everybody, started in that genre, and everybody just took off with hydros because that was really, airbags wasn't a thing then.
Yeah. Now, didn't you have like the bed, tilt bed, or the cab lifted or something? Didn't you have a bunch of crazy stuff on that truck? Or is that later?
So that's later. So summer or winter of '99, I actually took the truck off of the frame, smoothed the frame, powder coated the frame, the whole nine. The bottom of the body was already lined with polished stainless steel. The bottom of the cab, the bottom of the bed. So then we debuted it completely back together at January of 2000 in Miami at the Miami Lowrider Show. So we run 5 shows that year. So then come 2001, me and Wayne Costa, that's the year that him and Leslie had passed away and got in a car wreck. So, we had already been talking about doing this transformation to my truck. And we went to those 4 or 5 shows in 2000. Well, Tampa really started our first show in April, and it's actually at the same fairgrounds where they have Slam Fest. So that really brought back a big memory when I went to Slamfest for the first time a couple years ago.
Yeah.
So we come to April, and so we're going to the show, talking on walkie-talkies, saying, all right, well, this is what we're going to do. We're going to flip the front end forward. Cab's going to lift off the frame with 6-inch hydraulic cylinders. The bed's going to lift up, then it's going to tilt to the side. So, and I had already had like the rear fender wells on the truck. I cut the rear fender wells out, chrome plated them, and put them back in. So, I mean, everything was already chrome plated, everything but the frame and the block. So we were, like I say, we were at the Lowrider Super Show, or the Tampa Super Show, and they left early. And of course, they got in a bad car wreck. Somebody run them off the road, and they passed away.
I remember that.
Yeah. So the 2 weeks later, I was heading to Indianapolis for the Lowrider Show. So I went up there, and because usually they all help me set up and all that. I mean, I'd have a whole crew. It took 7.5 hours to set that truck up. Had 155 mirrors under it, 36 lights, full 20 by 20. 20 by 20 looked just like the interior. So we went up there, and then that was 1st of May of 2001. So I was like, Wayne, he was like one of my best friends, and I was going to go through with it. I wasn't going to stop. I was like, well, I'll find a way that to fabricate all this myself. I think I can do it. And I was already working part-time already after my full-time job for a race car shop. So I knew that was some help there, because we smoothed my frame there and everything else. So we went to, in June of 2000, or 2001, went to the Chicago Lowrider Show, when we cleaned house there as well. So after June of 2001, when I come home, I tore the truck down, ended up cutting the whole front end off of it, made a whole entire flip front end, like I say, 6-inch hydraulic lift cab. All 4 corners had 6-inch hydraulic cylinder.
Now your fender's hood and everything tilted forward as one piece.
Everything was one piece. Yep. So I chopped 9 inches out of the radiator, even chrome plated the radiator. Everything had a perch underneath of it with peel block bearings, the whole 9 yards. And done the front end, done the cab. The pump for the cab was in between the seats over top of the interior. CCE started sponsoring me, sent me all the pumps, all that stuff. We'd already been talking to those guys, and where Wayne was already, into the, hydraulic competition. And we were actually sponsored by, me and him was sponsored by High Low back in 2000. And I done the bed and all that, got everything ready to go, and finished at 4 a.m. on October the 10th.
How do you remember these dates and times specifically? Are you looking at like a teleprompter in front of you?
No, I've got a photographic memory. Sometimes it haunts me, sometimes it's good. But so we got done at 4 o'clock. My mom, everybody was just pitching in, and I was thrashing because we were leaving to get on the road at 10 a.m. on Thursday on October 10th. So I still had to get the truck done. I had to get it clean. I had to get it loaded. And I was 30 minutes late. And that was a track to the Lowrider Super Show in Las Vegas. And that was the same year that of the bombing. So there was a 93-mile detour through Laughlin, Bullhead, Nevada, to go around the dam, the Hoover Dam.
Oh, wow.
Because they wouldn't let nothing no bigger than a 12-foot trailer over the dam.
And that's before they built the new interstate bridge that goes over and all that stuff now. So
yeah.
And here you are in early 2000s traveling all over the country to these shows, and then you got other people that go 45 minutes from their house and it's too far. So that shows dedication from day one.
Well, everybody's like, how do you do it? I have love for it. And it's things work in my favor. Job, anything else, but you got to have love for what you do. If you don't have love for it, you don't need to do it.
Yep.
So, but that's like I say, it's just traveling's been in my blood. So that's just what I'm born to do. I don't know.
So you got to Vegas. Was it received the way you thought the truck would be received?
It was. Because I was going up against the 3-time champ Frank Silva with Deep Impact, and I knew there was no way that I could beat him. Turning Heads was there, so I actually come in third overall. Won best display, won radical truck class, and come in third in sweepstakes behind Frank Silva and Turning Heads. So
Lowrider gave money on those shows back then too, didn't they?
They did. They give $1,000 for first place truck sweepstakes, $500 for second, $250 for third. So within 5 years, I think I ended up getting like right at 30 grand, I think, with all the shows I went to.
And that's the thing now is people go to shows, and most shows now are top 50 or top 100, depending on how big they are. I think the days of all these classes for the normal quote unquote truck show are not like they used to be. I remember, even when I was in Hondas back then, you'd go to one of the big import shows and you would have like 3 different Civic classes, mild and wild in each, or Prelude classes or whatever. Now it's just, you're lucky if you have top whatever cars and top whatever trucks.
Right.
So yeah. It was different back then trying to compete for someone in a class, because you would walk that show and know I'm against that guy, and that guy. Okay, what can I do to better myself so the next show I can beat that guy? I mean, right. You're the same way I am. It's never about the trophies, but if you can beat that guy that has that recognition, there's still something in the back of your mind that's like, yep, I did that.
Yeah. Well, if somebody says that they're done, they're lying to you. You've never done.
Especially you.
Yeah. So going back on the Mazda, start of the 2002. So we had a bad venture. So I had this ingenious idea because I had 5-inch exhaust on Big Black back then. Big Black pulled the 20-foot trailer that I started pulling cookies in back then. But my exhaust was loose, and I had this ingenious idea. I'll just cut it off in front of the axle right before we go to Vegas, right? In the middle of rebuilding this damn Mazda. So here we are on 40 going up the mountain, and we get into Tennessee. I'm like, we got to pull over. And a couple of buddies like, your rear end's smoking. Man, that mud done got hot. Done started smoking the grease. I'm like, so luckily we was at a semi place, and they actually had a turn down. So I jacked it up when I put a turn down on it. But yeah, that was ingenious. But no, after that, 2002, Quaker State started sponsoring the tour, and they had a Quaker State World Cup deal that you run on points. So you were the top lowrider in the nation. So the more shows that you went to and the more that you won, the more points you got. So I can't remember the name of the car. It used to be, I think it was a bomb. Anyway,
what happened to that photographic memory?
Yeah, well, yeah, when it comes to that. But it was a bomb car. They had already showed it a few years, and they cut the roof off of it. It was pretty awesome. And they were on the West Coast, so they were competing with me as far as winning shows. So we were actually in the lead in points. And if I would have went to the Super Show again in 2002, and the reason we didn't was because of the bad luck we had in 2001. I told my mom, I said, because her and one of my buddies helped me drive. I was like, after all that, I'm not going to do it. But if we would have went, we would have won the Quaker State World Cup national title with that. So we ended up coming in second. So I'm used to being in second when it comes to titles. So.
Well, how long did you keep showing that truck that hard?
So the next year, April of 2003, was Tampa. That was my 5th year straight. So we won Radical Truck, Radical or Truck Sweepstakes. We won like 8 specialty awards, and then Orbital Excise started sponsoring it too, and they had 4 Orbital batteries for the best hydraulic setup. So I got best hydraulic setup and 4 Orbital batteries too. So that was kind of the last hoo-ha for it. But what really, I guess, what made me end up retiring it, some of my buddies of mine came down. Hernan came, my engraver came from Cali, came over to New York and met my buddy Mike. They came down to the house and we rode down there together, but we got in a crash on the way home coming back through Atlanta. Some cat pulled right in front of me, right in, busy traffic in Atlanta, slamming on the brakes. And after that, I was like, this ain't worth it. So got Big Black fixed, and that's when Big Black started its venture.
And for those that don't know, what is Big Black?
Big Black is a 99 Ford F350 Super Duty dually. So
you still had the Mazda at this point, the Scandalous.
Yeah. I didn't show it. I drove around the neighborhood every once in a while, but most time it stayed on jack stands and under a cover pretty much in the way.
When did you wind up selling it, and why did you sell it?
I sold it like a dummy, but I actually put it on modified for probably 2 or 3 years. Ended up selling it in September of 2012, or late August of 2012 is when I sold it, and it went to Peoria, Illinois. So a lady and her daughter now has possession of it in Peoria, Illinois.
And did they do anything with it?
They took it to one show in September of 2012 and been sitting in a garage ever since.
Why would you spend that much on something just to sit? Like, that makes no sense.
Well, they didn't really spend a whole lot. They traded me a Harley Davidson bagger for the truck, and I took it like a dummy because I felt bad they come all the way down there. I don't know. I wanted the space in my shop at the time, and so I was done with it. So looking back now, I've been kicked in the ass. But yeah,
I know, we've talked and you've tried to buy it back a few times, and they won't let it go.
No. So it is what it is.
So that's when you really dove hard into Big Black. I know it's gone a few renditions, and then it's still sitting on the jack stands and behind the wall behind you right there for those that can see you.
Yeah, over here on this side. Yeah, it went through a few transformations. It actually won a couple best of shows too. It was a badass truck when I tore it down. But I've got big plans for it. So, but Cookie's decided to make its appearance. So, and that Mazda, the Mazda love I had, I guess it filled the void from the other one. I guess it was just time.
So while you were working on Big Black, and you were doing a F450 front end or something on, or a newer front end on it or something?
Yeah. So it's a 99 F350, and it's got 2005 headlights. It's got a one-off all metal 2005 grill, full billet. Then it's got a 2005 flares with a 2011 to 2016 front bumper. There's 2 of them on it to make one. I cut 4 inches out of the frame horn and shoved it back to make it flush with the front of the grill. So the whole front of it's flush.
Now, when did you stop really tinkering on that? What got you off of that project? Was it buying cookies?
Pretty much. Yeah. And so I took it, I think the last show was in 2014. Actually, I think BB's show was actually 2014 was the last show for it.
I know I shot it for one of the diesel magazines that wound up closing down and it wound up not, you tore it down right after
2012, that. Yeah, it was in 2012. But But yeah, 2015, I decided to start tearing it down, and I messed with it for about a year and a half, doing one-off front suspension, the whole nine, and then work on some customers' vehicles, and then 2017, 2018, 2017, I got the Mazda, but then I started messing with bead rolling and all that stuff too, and that
Is
really,
that so? I guess that's where. So your company, if people don't know, you have Big Black
yep,
fabrication or cations. What's the
fabrication.
is that? But you named it, I guess, after the truck. So I guess building all those custom parts for the truck kind of got your wheels turning to figure out that you could do that for other people and have a little side gig on that. Is that where that came from?
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly where it came from. Because I used to have another business back 2000, started 2004. It was called Scandalous Customs, and I had it for about 3 years. Then I just bought a house, started messing with that. Then that company went up to the wayside. I had a big shop and everything.
Now you've worked for the same company as your day job for a while, right? What do you do as your day job or a
Um,
night job, I should say?
so, so I'm a lead maintenance mechanic on third shift. I've been doing it 30 years.
What do you work on?
We take care. Well, it's a point of purchase display company, so we run corrugated displays. Um,
Yeah, I dealt with
printed,
those for many years at Pepsi.
yeah, printed, die cut. You probably interacted with a bunch of stuff that we made,
They come
and
in a box in 37 pieces, and tab A goes into slot B, and
yeah, yeah, that's right. Yeah, angle bases, the whole nine. Yeah.
I put
So
many of those together.
yeah, so we have like I say, we have the corrugator, and then we probably have about 12 machines that I have to take care of, keep running. So do
and and
maintenance on
they
those.
and they seem to work with you pretty well with your crazy show schedule.
Yeah, I mean I've got a little over 5 weeks vacation, so I can pretty much take them when I want. So yeah, my boss man, he's pretty lenient about it. So
Gotcha. So you started Big Black Fabrication. So what really got the ball rolling on that before we get into the cookies and cream deal?
I think what really got the ball rolling is buying my very first bead roller. So I bought a 24-inch Bailey bead roller, and actually the blue and white square body that Philip had that was named Caroline.
Yeah.
That was the first engine bay that I done with that 24-inch bead roller. Never. I mean, I practiced before I done it, and just kind of went in feet first, and just kind of transpired from there. So I guess the work just started speaking for itself.
So what year did you start doing that?
2017.
So it was still a couple years before you got my truck.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. Yeah. I done got the new war off by the time I got to your truck.
I know what. So when I built Cranberry, I knew I wanted something cool under the hood. You know, for y'all that don't know, like me and Eddie were back and forth, and he's like, "Well, let me build something under the hood." And we kind of went over a couple things. I said, "Kind of want to do this. I kind of want to do that. Let's, cover this, paint this, or whatever." And once I dropped it off, and Eddie got tore into it, it was like, "Well, why don't we build a new intake? And why don't we do this?" And I was like, same thing I do with anybody that does any kind of custom work for me. You're the artist. You do what you think's right, and we'll go from there. And you designed a new intake system for it, and built the panels, and kept showing me pictures, and I'm like, I'd see the pieces off the truck. I'm like, I don't know how that's going to fit. And as soon as you had it together, I'm like, that's cool. And then once you set it in paint to have painted, you wouldn't show me the pictures of it painted
Mm-hmm.
until I picked it up.
Yeah.
That engine bay, I think, set the bar for a lot of the modern full size trucks that are out there now. I think it was probably one of the first crazy sheet metal engine bays to kind of hit that market.
Oh yeah.
You agree?
Yeah. Yeah. I do agree. Yeah. Yeah. Because you didn't really see anything before then. I mean, you see it on hot rods, Kindig. I mean, of course,
Yeah.
Those guys, but nothing to that level on those types of trucks. No.
And we had it was the same color, but it was a satin clear. So
Yeah.
you open the hood and it was the hot rod look to it. But I do still think that engine bay set the bar, because now you scroll online and 9 out of 10 brand new full sizes now have sheet metal under the hood and all this bead rolling. And I
Right.
think it pushed people to do more.
Yeah. 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 I think so too. Yeah.
But I like that I could just say, do what you feel you want to do and make it work. And I love the people that saw the center engine covers like, don't it overheat? And I'm like, don't your hood close keep heat in? They're like, well, that's different. I'm like, do you have vents in your hood? And they're like, well, no. Like, it actually, I think, ran cooler because it was directing air directly to the top of the engine when I'm driving it.
Well, it just created a vortex. So it was an oversized fan trail pretty much. But yeah, people, man, you got so pissed off, dude. People just got on your last nerve. You were like, do you ride down the road with your hood open?
Like, nope.
Oh.
And that's the thing, is those Hemi engines, they're not a pretty engine like in LS. Like in, in LS, you have all the coil pack covers and all these, different intakes to put on to look pretty. Well, that Hemi, half of it's stuffed underneath the firewall. Like you can't, you've got what, 2 foot of gap between the radiator and the front of the engine. Like there's just a big hole.
Right.
So,
yeah. It looked like you put another motor on top of it.
you could put a little, Honda motor in front of it for sure. But that was probably one of my favorite parts of that truck. Like I'd open the hood any show and people would be like, oh my God, they'd be like, is that plastic? And I'm like, no, I get well, where did you buy that at? Can you get me a link? And I'm like, that's 200 hours of sheet metal work. That's not an Amazon purchase.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And, like you go back saying, I wouldn't let you see any pictures when it went to paint. See, which, when I'm building somebody something, I mean, you might get 30 pictures a fucking day, yep. You're going to get them. But that's what I do for the wow factor for my customer is they want a turnkey job like that. I want them to see everything up to that point. And then after that, I want to unveil it, and have that wow factor and that surprise because you have seen everything. So that way I can actually see, all right, well, do they like it or not? Well, when, eyes get this big around, yeah, they like it.
Yep. and one of the reasons that I took it to you is like me and you kind of have the same OCD level. Like I knew that it would be put together and done like if I was capable of fabbing it myself. I get all the time, Brandon, don't turn wrenches. Brandon, don't build this. Well, I know what I can do. I take stuff to people that can do it. Like you're not a painter, but you have people that paint.
Oh yeah. 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 I got some good people in my corner, man. I just acquired a new guy too, cause, my buddy Paul, he took a different job. So the painter that he's trained for years, he's actually pretty doggone good. So I've actually got stuff up there right now for him, with him for Ty Zito's display. So.
Oh, nice. Now Paul was the one that painted my stuff, wasn't it?
It is. Yeah.
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 Well, I know at Mini Nats, John Yokin come up and was like, man, he's like, were you, happy with that? I was like, absolutely 150% happy. And he like pulled a folder up of like all the pictures of my engine bay. And he's like, man, he's like, I fell in love with that when it come out. And he's like, kind of gives me ideas. And I guess you're probably going to do something for him.
Yeah. I've been waiting on him. Yeah.
And that's just one of those things that, I guess you've gotten a ton of customers off the Ram just because of how it looked when it come out. People's like, oh wow, let's do it. I mean, you're what, 2.5, 3 hours from me. So it's not like you're right down the road. So,
right. And then the next year when you took it back to SEMA, nobody had seen it before, at SEMA.
Because it wasn't done in 19 because, we ran out of so much time there, which I couldn't open the hood anyway because it was there for a bed cover company. And they said, you got to leave the hood shut. So it worked. It is what it is. But, the hood was proudly open at every event after.
Oh yeah.
After that was done.
Yeah. So when you took it back, I mean, and it was at SEMA. I mean, I had in my work at SEMA 4 different vehicles. So that was pretty cool. So.
Well, I know we kept pushing the street trucks feature off, because we had to wait on this, then we had to wait on the engine bay, and I had to get, add those photos and stuff in. It's like one of those things, but that worked out. The cover worked out. August 2020 is when the cover come out, and it just, I mean, little did I know, 3 years later, I would have been running that magazine for a little while, but
Right.
that was cool to have that to showcase the people, the work you did, the work Shauna did. Everybody thought the interior was factory in that truck. It's like, no, we've changed a ton of stuff to make it not factory, but to still look factory, which
Right.
goes back to the same thing. I told Sean at Ultimate Audio the same thing I told you. This is kind of an idea. Make it happen. Call me when you're done. Hell,
Right.
even my Sierra now, people's like, oh, that's stock red interior. I'm like, there was nothing red in this truck. And they're like, wow, it looks factory. I'm like, that's what happens when you trust an artist with that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You got to have a trust with your customer. So that way they feel comfortable with you too. So.
And people probably see the stuff that you've turned out and think you've got some big, massive shop. I mean, I think my truck barely fit in the garage enough to close the door.
Yeah, it barely fit. And I've actually got one in the shop in the back right now that I parked my dually and my trailer in it. So it's a 20 by 36.
You didn't have that when you had my truck though, did you?
No, it's got the whole driveway back there and everything now. Yeah. So,
nice.
So I'm getting ready to close the whole front end of it in. So we'll have plenty of room now.
So the fabrication stuff, that's kept you pretty busy. So you're doing engine bays, wheel tubs, you're doing stands, what's your main focus on for customers?
So the engine bays I will do. I'm not going to turn that away because I feel like you say, to me that's art.
Yep.
That I can create. I've been working in sheet metal since 1997. Learned how to on modified race cars. I mean, I was trained how to do interiors on modified race cars. So and just hammer and dolly, plenish and hammer, everything else. It's just, I'm going to be. I'd rather do something with my hands to form sheet metal. But as far as when we come down to CAD, I design my own parts, have everything laser cut. Luckily, one of my buddies opened up a shop several years ago now, and he's only like 10 minutes up the road. I can email my files, go pick up everything on a laser. But I have for the last, and I guess Cookies is the one that pretty much started this, but I actually have my own line of conformed wheel stands. They're is made for each in particular customer's vehicle, depending on the size of their tires. Because I've done some 57 Chevrolet, 16-inch in the back and 8.5 in the front.
Yeah.
Kind of like race ramps and stuff like that. They only have one width and they have multiple heights. So mine is all standard height, guaranteed not to roll out. A lot of people are buying them for mocking up their rollers, their chassis. Then some of them are actually using them for their full-blown display for their show vehicles. And there again, Cookies started all that too. So.
All right, so I guess that's a good transition into the whole cookies and cream deal. So those that know the story know that Eddie bought this Mazda truck, got a good deal on it. He's like, man, I want something little. I want a Mazda I can drive every day, something I can just get dirty and not worry about it. Did you ever drive this truck, or did it go straight to being tore down?
No, I think we ended up driving like 2,400 miles. I bought it to drive back and forth to work. I think I drove it to work 3 times. So actually, me and buddy John Lane, we actually went and picked this truck up on the day Trump was inaugurated into office. So we were sitting at Twin Peaks eating lunch, watching Trump being inaugurated. So that was pretty cool. So I got it home, cleaned it up. Actually lowered it that same weekend. So just started, fixing things on it, new tie rods, ball joints, just, updating everything, making everything new. It was already a pretty straight truck.
What year
and I
is
got 91.
I mean, so 30 plus years old. So it's, had wear and tear on it. So that's
Right.
just standard maintenance at that point.
Yeah. And I bought it from a 70-year-old Vietnam vet. It was 70 years old at the time. So it was pretty cool. Me and him, we really hit it off. He kind of reminded me of one of my late grandfather. It was pretty cool. But he told me a fun fact about the truck that his buddy that was a 33-year mechanic for Mazda, whenever they rebuilt the top end, that he said that that's the first time he's ever seen the original cross hatching on the cylinder walls of that old of a truck.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool. It's the only Mazda that I've heard personally that don't tick. Mazdas usually have the notorious valve tick.
I thought that was factory in them.
Yeah, well, that's what I used to think too, because I never heard one that didn't. So, but yeah, so I fixed it up a little bit, and me and the girls, me and my daughters, we end up going. We'd go to Cars and Coffees, and every Saturday morning we go. First Saturday of the month, second Saturday of the month, third Saturday, every Saturday of the month we go somewhere different in the truck. And I was changing wheels, doing a little here, a little there, painting front bumper, changing this, changing that as we were doing that. And then, of course, COVID hit and all the Cars and Coffees stopped.
Yeah.
So Cars and Coffee stopped, and Cookies started taking a different approach.
It quickly went to a non-daily driver. Us that are friends with Eddie always give him hard times. Like, so you're driving this now? It's like, well, at this point, I think you've run out of parts to powder coat or chrome. What's left? Green?
No, we still got more.
But you have, so this truck, he shows it on stands everywhere. Everything underneath this thing looks like it's brand new, purple powder coat, chrome. Like, it's probably the most detailed vehicle at pretty much every truck show you'd go to, I'd say.
It's close. Yeah. There's a lot of one-off parts on the truck. And I guess what really took it off, Blake Grogan, I took it to him, and what is it, December of 2020. And we'd already been talking. I had already done all the body mods here at the house. And we were going to make LST of 21. We were going to debut it there. So I took it to him actually the day after Christmas when I took it to him. And he had 4 weeks to get me the truck back, bodywork, painted, and his buddy Stitch, he does a lot of the Ring Brothers interiors, done the one-piece headliner while I was in Cookeville, all in 4 weeks. And I got it home, blew the suspension apart, started powder coating. Didn't have a whole lot of chrome then. Powder coated a lot. Got it all back together 2 days before we left to go to LST in 21.
Now, did you ever have intentions of taking this truck this far once you tore into it, or has it just been a smooth transition like month to month?
I didn't typically do it until I went to my first International Show Car Association, ISCA, World of Wheels Autorama in Houston in 21. I actually made the display and everything for Scraping the Coast that year. And then I had some club members were like, hey, come out to Houston, check it out, whatever. Well, that's when I got bit by the circuit bug. You're looking, I'm competing with 250,000, 500,000, $1.5 million vehicles, that I'm competing against. So, I don't have an endless budget like some of these guys do. So I'm doing it as I can do it. And, one thing led after another, and it's transpired way, 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 way farther and greater than I ever expected, down to, very expensive door mirrors, one-off mounts, very expensive steering wheel. I mean, I got one-off parts under the truck, one-off parts under the hood. I've really been blessed with some great people in the industry, down to Willwood. Things got 12.19-inch rotors front and rear with 6-piston caliber brakes, front and rear. So I mean, it's legit.
It's for all that driving you do with it, though.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, it stops on a dime, gives you back 25 cents and change.
But for those that haven't seen this truck in person, it's one of those ones that, you've made a comment before, you can sit and watch somebody walk by and they'll look at it and then turn around and come back and like look at it again and like, wow, I didn't realize that was done. Cause you show it with the mirrors and everything underneath it, and you can see all the little bits and pieces that are done that most people would never even notice. And I think the longer you look at that truck, the more you find on it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So I think what really, I guess, put a fire under me is in January of 2022 is when we finally started our road to try to get to an ISCA championship finals. And I guess what started me on that is having Gracie, my oldest daughter, Gracie, going to all the shows with me, being by my side, traveling with me. That's when she started being homeschooled. So, she seeing the love she has for the truck and seeing her grow as being, somebody that didn't really talk a whole lot, now being around, we've met so many good people all over the country over the last couple of years. And it's just turned her into a social butterfly. And she completely transformed herself, but seeing the love she has for that truck, I think's pretty much pushed me to kind of go to, other means, trying to do what I can do to do what I need to do to win. You know what I mean? So
I love the fact that you always bring her with you to the shows. She's, and I do see what you're saying. Like when you first started bringing her around, she was quiet and kind of, standoffish. Now you can pick on her and she'll turn around and pick right back on you. Probably one of the most well-mannered, fun being kids that you see at a show. I mean, she'll hop on a golf cart and take off, and everybody knows that's Eddie's daughter. She's out, out riding around, but her helping you and always hanging out and talking with everybody. She's the first one to be like, oh, hey, how are y'all? Like she's, like I said, probably one of the most well-mannered kids I think I've ever seen at a show. So you did a good job on that.
Thank you. Well, she's now been titled as my tour manager. So.
Oh, okay.
Everybody always jokes around with her. Well, you're the damn tour manager. She said, yes, I
am. Do you pay her yet though?
She gets fed well. She don't get anything that she don't want. She wants something, she gets it. So
okay. Yeah. We'll have to talk to her at the next few shows. Tell her she needs to step up that pay percentage, though. I'll talk to her. We'll get some extra bonuses in there.
Yeah, but truth be known, man, I honestly I couldn't do it without her. She does a lot for me, as far as helping me set up. I mean, I couldn't do it by myself.
She could probably set the truck up and tear it down without you at this point.
I think so. Yeah. If it wasn't for her having to operate the jack, yeah, I know definitely she could. Yeah.
Like if something happened to you at a show, she could probably pack it up and make sure it got back in the trailer right. And
oh yeah, she would be able to instruct somebody on exactly to the T what to do. Yeah. Yeah.
That's cool. Like, so I love the fact that you bring her with that. Mine had been to several, but not, then it got to where she's not wanting to be at shows and that kind of stuff. But now it's like, hey, there's one close. Do you want to come? It's like, no, now I got to work. So
yeah. So going back on the ISCA, started our first season in 21. You have to have 4 points to 4 points. So on the shows, you can equivalent 4 points to make it to the finals, but you can only get 1 point per show. So you can get a best of or an outstanding. You can get outstanding truck, outstanding car. You can get a point. All the best ofs, you get a point. But now like outstanding engine, outstanding paint, stuff like that, they're half points. So you actually have to get 2 of those. But So we missed it. We went to 5 shows in 21, and we only got 3 points, so we missed it.
Oh, wow.
So in 22, we got 3 points. And we went to 5 shows. So in 23, we went to 23. We went to 5 shows, and we got our 4th point. So we was at our 4th show in Indy. Indy's hadn't been good to us at all the last 3 years. I don't know what it's about. I don't know. It's just weird. But so here we are going into Indy. We got 3 points. All right, we need this. Well, we're coming back from the show before that. We're coming back from Kansas City, Missouri. And I tell Grace, I said, Indy's never been good for us. I said, so Cleveland is the very next weekend. I said, I think maybe we should put Cleveland on our radar. I said, in case we don't get our point and Indy, we can fall back, possibly get that point. So that happened. We actually, we won our class in Indy, and that's it. We didn't get nothing else. And I was blown away. That was a long ride.
Is there just crazy high-end vehicles there that aren't at the other shows or something? Or is it the judges?
I don't know. It's a little of both. I mean, not very nice vehicles, but there again, I had to step my game up on the truck again. You know what I mean? So we ended up getting our 4th point in Cleveland that year to go to the finals this past year. So we were able to go to the finals this year. It was held in Cincinnati in January at the Duke Energy Center. So looking back in history, a few guys that has been in the circuit for several years have went back on 70 years of history of ISCA, and we were the first Japanese truck to ever be in the finals ISCA. So we broke a record there. And then we ended up coming in 2nd in the national championship ISCA behind a grade 8 truck, which was $1.5 million.
Yeah.
So this year we've been to 5 shows and we got our 4 points. We got every one of back to back to back to back. So now we're going to the finals for a 2nd year in a row.
Where's it at this year?
They're talking about in January 25. They're talking about maybe Pennsylvania, in Pittsburgh.
That's a good section to be out in the middle of the winter.
Yeah, well, we were there this past year, so it was a little hairy.
So since you've already got the points for this year and you're going to the finals for that, what's next for the truck? You're gonna keep riding it out and keep upgrading, or are you gonna step back for a minute and finish Big Black?
No, I got to keep going. I already got a bunch of stuff. So we actually we're going to Bama next week. And it was going to be my last show, but Steve Green and Craig Bierman, my Speed Sport Chrome, my Chrome guy, they're actually putting on their first show August 10th and 11th in Houston at the NRG Stadium.
Yeah.
So it's all a red carpet event. So I'm going to do a few things in between Bama and there, and then after there, it's going to be tore down. It's got to be getting ready for the finals. So,
and any big plans you can tell us you're doing with it, or is all that stuff under wraps till the finals?
It'll probably be under wraps. Yeah, there probably won't be no sneak. There might be a few sneak peeks, but it won't be. Yeah, I have to keep it under wraps.
So you're going suicide doors, crazy graphics, chrome the frame. What?
Well, I'm going to gold plate the frame. Lambo doors. T-tops.
Bet.
Flip up headlights.
I can see that.
Yeah.
I can see that. Braid the beard. Yeah, you'll be good.
The fin on top of the camper top.
A little throwback. So when are you gonna dive back into the dually though?
I think once I come to a stopping point on cookies, probably the stopping point probably after this year, it'll probably be probably throttle back for a while on it. So
Then how are you going to get both trucks to the shows? Then are you going to retire the Mazda and?
no, I just have to have a very well in depth collaborated trailer.
So you'll have a half enclosed, half open Mike Barsha style fifth
Yeah,
wheel.
it probably have to be a 53-foot deck over, with an enclosed on the front of it or something. Yeah. It'd be some kind of Frankenstein shit. It has to be.
Big Black's new adventure. We're building custom trailers now.
Ah, dang, I'm telling you.
You're gonna need a bigger shop for that. So, well, I appreciate you coming on and sharing your story with what you've got. Like I said, there's a lot of stuff I didn't even know. I thought you started with the lowrider stuff. So it's kind of cool to know a little backstory on that. Well, how do people find you when they go to look for you online? Because you've got some, you've dove into the reel game now, and you're doing, reels heavy. You must be letting your tour manager do those for you.
She's taught me a few things.
Because you're not one of the most computer savvy individuals, I guess. So
I hold my own. So now on Instagram it's Eddie Gordy Eddie Gordy _Jr. on Instagram. Big Black Fabrication is just like it sounds on Facebook. So, and then I've got a couple videos on TikTok just under Big Black Fabrication, but it's all the Mazda. So,
gotcha. Well, like I said, it's definitely cool watching the stuff that you build because you never know what it's going to be. You don't focus on one style vehicle. You've had what was the old Mercedes or something in there you were doing floor pans or something for recently.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Back when I think you had, it was after you did mine. It might have been when you had change or something. It was an old,
it was a Thunderbird.
Do what?
That's an old Thunderbird.
No, you had something you were building floor pans for a car that sits up on stands at shows and stuff. I want to say it was an old Mercedes or something, or that you were building.
You talking about the Silver Cloud?
Yeah.
Yeah, I hadn't been able to do that yet. Yeah, he hadn't brought it yet.
Did that thinking of that Thunderbird? Did Carl ever do anything else with that?
I think he's actually been working on it. Yeah, I think he has. So
I hadn't seen him in a while. So
yeah, I can't wait to see that thing when it comes out. That back bumper it was pretty awesome. So
yeah, and you started to you walk around the show and see Eddie Gordy engine bays left and right now. So
yeah, well, and going back on Big Black Fabrication, like for Bama, Ty Zito, he reached out, Twin States, Eli and them, they're rebuilding his OBS. I think somebody told me it's like the second or third time that truck's been rebuilt by different shops. And so he reached out to me. He wanted to be able to take the one side of the wheels off, whether it's the passenger or the driver, with it sitting on the ground. So I ended up having to design and make some hub stands for it, custom hood prop, whatever customers want. I mean, so he kind of gave me an idea, kind of like you said, like you wanted, and just give me free reign, and just kind of let it flow.
Well, I guess we'll see it at Bama. I don't know if this episode will be out before or after that, but we'll see you down there, and we'll see how this new venue works out for them, and go from there. I know that show's one of the ones that made me want to buy a golf cart, and now we can't do golf carts now. So like, thanks, Craig.
I know, right? It's gonna be awesome.
You rented that one, and I rode around quite a bit on it. I'm like, man, I need to get me a golf cart for shows. And then the one show that started that, I can't take one now. So
yeah, come over to the garage area and check out some of the full blown display vehicles. So be a lot of ISCA vehicles in there set up on 20x20 displays.
Yep, looking forward to it. So good chatting with you, and we'll see you at the next show.
All right, brother. Peace out.